Hi everyone, hope you're all doing well. Today we are doing another redesigning video, yay! I wonder if you can tell what my favourite thing to do is. Right, so these aren't characters per se, so much as they're just designs for the fun of it. They are original personas and I'm redrawing them based on the initial drawings I did of them like 10 years ago. I've included the original art of them before each redraw as well, so you can get an idea of what I'm working from. So in case you didn't know, I'm a big fan of the Persona games, specifically 4 and 5, didn't like 3. And in the height of my obsession with Persona 4, when it came out, I drew a whole bunch of Persona designs specifically for my own original characters, who I have shown briefly before. I won't go into who they are, because even though it's relatively important to the designs of these personas, none of it is necessary to know. Just, I just wanted to draw some cool, weird, fantasy monster things. I kind of feel like I had a lot of good-ish ideas when I was younger. I just wasn't able to execute them in the way I would have liked and in the way I can now. Like, for example, these first two personas were supposed to be kind of a bit quirky, I guess, but sexy at the same time. The character they were designed for, who is the red-headed girl I've drawn a few times before, she's like really bubbly and feminine and a bit airy-fairy, I guess. So her personas were meant to reflect that, and now I feel I failed pretty miserably at that before, because what the hell are they? I remember being happy with them at the time, and now it's just like, what? So they went through an enormous, actually a total overhaul, new names, new everything. The one aspect of them that I really wanted to keep, since it pretty much was the most integral part of the design, was the super long and flexible spine. I thought it added to the kind of sensuality of the persona, if that makes sense. But now I've also changed the pose to be a bit more girlish and coquettish, which is more what I had in mind even 10 years ago when I didn't have the skill to draw it properly. So yeah, as you can see, the first persona used to be called Taiki, and now she is Eos, the rosy-fingered goddess of the dawn. You can see with her and with all of the upcoming designs that I really played with the colours a lot. I tend to get a little bit too wrapped up in keeping within the same kind of boring colour schemes, but just different tones and stuff. This time I really wanted to push myself, not just in the colours but in the detailing as well. I would consider myself a quick sketcher. I don't often pay much attention to details. I can imagine them in my head, but I usually just kind of scribble the idea of them because I just don't have the patience to be really precise. But this time I really wanted to make that effort. The persona designs in the games are always so heavily detailed, and I guess I kind of just wanted to emulate it a little bit. So you can decide whether that worked out or not. I'm really happy with how they all turned out. This second persona used to be called Aglaia, I don't know, and I can't remember what she was the goddess of, beauty, I think, or something like that, which is the concept I wanted to stick with, but I just didn't like the name. Aglaia just sounds too guttural. It needed to be something lighter, so I kind of thought, what better mythological figure to represent beauty and love and all of that than Aphrodite? And most people would have heard that name anyway, and it just sounds prettier too, so I ran with that. And I knew that because she's such an iconically beautiful deity, that the design needed to be a little bit more revealing, but still in a kind of dreamy, delicate way, which is what made me think of the lace detailing that covers her chest and her lady bits. And I don't know about you, but I think it looks gorgeous. It's so pretty and feminine, but it has that kind of provocative edge to it, which I thought was really perfect, so I'm really happy with that. Especially since I was so happy with how Eos turned out, and I was thinking, oh my god, this is literally the most beautiful thing I've ever drawn. How am I supposed to top this? And even after I'd sketched out Aphrodite, I wasn't sure how it was going to pull together, but it did. And I really love how like joyful and flirtatious her expression is. And I'm really happy with the flow of her pose. So yeah, I think it's miles more successful than the mess she was before. So next we have Eros, the god of love and desire. I'm sorry the sketch starts out so much smaller. He was actually the first one I did out of all of them, so I just pulled up my old drawings to reference at the side, and I just kind of started sketching away next to them. I wasn't really thinking ahead. I wasn't thinking that this project would have turned out as polished as it did, and I mean that by my own standards. So I wasn't planning on making a video out of it when I started, so yeah. Eros was a bit funny because in the initial art I did of him, his legs ended in like, I don't know, rockets? I think that's what they were. I guess the idea of him flying around like a rocket was funny to me, and to be honest, it still kind of is, which is why I did try to redraw that part, but it really just looked too silly, so he got normal feet, but they're still on fire. I didn't want to change too much of this design because I still liked the simplicity of it, but I took away the male and female symbols he used to be carrying. It reminded me too much of Shadow Kanji from Persona 4, and you know, he didn't need them anyway. I really only extended the roses that used to be just around his head down into a full cape, and that was actually surprisingly therapeutic to draw. Like drawing all of those spirals was kind of hypnotizing, but I think the finished effect looks really good. The one thing I'm not too happy about is that gap I left at the top. I thought it might kind of look like devil's horns or something, and I thought having some thorns peek out would be kind of cool, but it just looks a bit overcomplicated, and I don't know why I didn't change it. But yeah, I think it would have been better to fill that space in with roses too. But other than that, I really like his design, and I think he turned out pretty well. So that was Eros, and the next is Dionysus, the god of wine, parties, and the pleasures of life, I think. I was thinking of the relationship between him and Eros in the context of these personas and the characters they were designed for, and my train of thought was along the lines of Eros would represent the lust of life, where the person would try to experience everything out of greed and for his own benefit, whereas Dionysus would represent a genuine love of life, where the person would live more fruitfully and with more heartfelt appreciation for what he has. And since personas represent the growth of a person, I thought this evolution made sense. Conversely to Eros, Dionysus's design changed a lot more dramatically. Certain elements stayed, like the spring-like legs and the arrow pattern on his belly. Other details like the grapes in his hair also stayed, but I really wanted to push the extravagance of them, and I kind of tried to make his hair more vine-like. His colour scheme also did a massive shift. I was originally going to stick to the green and pink combination that I did before, but it just wasn't intense enough for me. The character these personas are designed for is extremely vibrant and he wears a lot of bright, garish colours. So that was something I wanted to exaggerate in this iteration. Also, being the god of wine, I thought it made sense. Like in my original drawing, he had an amphora attached to his back, which in this version I just made super big. And I thought, since personas always have an elemental affinity, and I designed Dionysus as a fire persona, it would be pretty cool if his amphora blasted out like this massive spout of fire. Plus, you know, like alcohol is flammable anyway, and like it feels like it's burning your throat. So, you know, I thought I was being really clever with all of that. And that's it. Thank you so much for listening to me ramble. I had a lot of fun with these redesigns and explaining the concepts behind them, and I hope you equally enjoyed watching their process. I'm going to leave it at that. So I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you in the next video. So thank you and goodbye.